By the way, I am a social studies teacher, so I have a lot of my old social studies in bilingual assignments in global history, US history. So you can take a look at that, and also how I used to have assignments for kids to complete online. So that's in there too. But you are going to look there, and you have their inquiry resources on the right. So all of these are inquiry resources. So it shows you some of the steps, for example, the steps for inquiry process that we did in the school are in there. And it also has some of the databases that I use, like ARIS, that we use also tables in our school to track trends. So a lot of the information is in there. Thank you, and I'm sorry to take more time.
All the panelists for sharing a little bit more details of what is going on in the schools. And as Principal Sarmiento said, this is a process. So we have asked the schools to share things that are exciting, things that are happening, but it's a process. There's things that are working a little bit better than other things. So now we have some minutes. If you have any questions for any of our panelists to talk about in more detail about specific things, asking them about processes. So we have, 10 or so. So if anybody would like to ask a question? Yeah.
It was to the two young ladies that ended up predominantly. Tracy Creighton-Chung, Assistant Principal at Yonkers Public Schools. The two young ladies right here that were in a predominantly bilingual school, which are 50-50 project. Do you think that that's beneficial to do it, like one week you say you do just the English and then the other week, do you not think it's necessary to keep it, intertwined throughout the day, maybe half the day, AM, English, PM, Spanish, or vice versa?
That's actually, it's 50-50 within the day. So math is taught in Spanish. One of the two literacy subjects, so either reading or writing, is also taught in Spanish, but then whichever one's not taught in Spanish is then taught in English. So if you'll have math in Spanish, reading in English, writing in Spanish, content area in English. So the day is broken up into 50-50.
Just to clarify also, we are transitioning into this. We just started, and we at first we wanted to go 50-50 for every subject. We wanted to try it very small, and we decided to do with the literacy block, just in literacy.
So it's a week of this model and then a week of switching the language for reading it.
No, maybe I'm not coming across clearly, but I mean, most of your students are bilingual. They speak, most of your students are Spanish, correct? Yeah, or the language, most of the dominant language in your building.
Oh, this 50-50 model is just for the bilingual classes.
I understand that because we're a bilingual school too, predominantly bilingual, and the teachers are responsible in the classroom every day to do that concept. So I was just trying to understand when you said solely, Spanish and then solely English. I'm trying to conceptualize that in a classroom. So that's why I asked the question for clarification.
I guess when we say we transitioned from another model, the other model was following the language allocation policy, where in the bilingual classes, teachers were teaching the native language, they were teaching ESL, they were teaching content area in sort of whatever language they chose and in whatever configuration they wanted. So this was sort of taking a step into more clearly defined parameters.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we go here and then there.
Were the children moved according to level of language, or was just a given amount of time as per mandated?
The students are, the bilingual classes are mixed levels. You have beginners, you have intermediate, and you have advanced students in every bilingual class. So with this new language allocation, translanguaging is playing a huge role. both translanguaging to the Spanish when they're doing English, and the opposite in English when they're doing Spanish to support the kids who are more advanced, and then using the translanguaging to support those who are beginner and less English proficiency. So in this model, translanguaging is playing a huge role. For example, this week they're doing writing workshop in English, but it's not solely in English. The teachers do bring in supports in Spanish. Okay, if the students share their ideas in Spanish, even though it's writing the writing week. When it comes to the whatever is being produced in writing, the teachers are pushing the English language. Those who are more beginners are working together with the teachers. The teachers provide them with more support. Those who are more advanced are doing it more independently. But always keeping in mind that we're translanguaging to meet the needs of the students. So, for example, if a student they go off to write, this is actually the English writing week. They produce something in Spanish. We are validating it. The teachers are validating it. They're accepting it. But now the teacher's job is now to try to push that student to do some of that writing in English. What from your piece in Spanish, what can we bring over and write some of it in English? Whether it's a list, whether it's a graphic organizer, whether it's the teacher doing some guided writing with those students. So there is a lot of native language support within that English writing or reading week.
So we have one more question for this school. I don't want to put all the attention on you. So I just want to make sure that if anybody else has a question for another school, there's also an opportunity. But so is that a follow-up? That's it, and we can move to another school.
Well, my question is, when you switch from week to week, do you see some kids being challenged in a good way because they're doing more in English and then building comprehension more because of their talent in reading or writing or their talent in math? So they're thriving more one week, being challenged more the next. Do you see more growth just in the short time you've done it? Because I imagine that could happen, but I don't know.
Right, we haven't gotten there yet. Our official transition date was this week. We allowed all the teachers to finish that second unit in the year in literacy, and we wanted everyone to start together. So we held off until everybody was done with our last unit, and we launched it. And what we've seen so far is, we've heard from the teachers, you have that group of students who, whenever they were doing ESL or any instruction in English was happening, now because they know they are validating their native language, even within that writing, that English section of it, those students are actually participating because they know that they can share their ideas or their knowledge in their native language, and then the teachers are using translanguaging to recast, to emphasize, vocabulary words in the English and so on and so forth. But you have those students who are very, very quiet, who wouldn't dare to share because their language proficiency was not, it's low. They know that when it's the English week, in whichever reading or writing, they know that they know the concept, they can share it in the native language, and it's being validated.
Yeah, so far, especially from the teachers who have been trying it out even prior to the launch, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback about confidence levels in the kids and just even that transfer of knowledge from one week to the next. So we're hoping that success continues.
Thank you. So now, is there anybody with questions for another school? So I have one here, one there, one here. Is that for another school?
Thanks. This is actually for all schools, and I'm just wondering, in your sites, what structures and supports are in place to support content teachers in adapting translanguaging school-wide?
Well, we have our translanguaging team, and with the help of our CUNY representatives that come in and they assist us, and then we turn that into our instructional team. And then our instructional team then turns into our grade teams, and so it gets the message across. That's how it works at our school.
And along those lines, is the same would be administered on the other core team at the building level? We've had tremendous support from our CUNY team, but then also I think you've had, sorry.
Kara just said, we too have a core team at the building level. CUNY's given us tremendous support, but also the fact that so many of the teachers are now learning Spanish. Translanguaging is happening much more quickly and with a greater level of success in all the classrooms, not just the dual language classrooms.
And our second panel will be, some of the schools will talk a little bit more about translanguaging, and I think there's some, some schools have mentioned translanguaging and some examples, so we'll have hopefully a little more details of that.
Hi, I'm Mary Natali from IS 145. I believe it was the second speaker, I'm not sure. You mentioned about children's surveys, student surveys. Could someone clarify what you were really asking the students to let you know? And did you coincide that at all with any parent surveys to see the needs of the student population to better facilitate them in the building? And one more quick thing, somebody mentioned, is it mantralingual pens? If you could tell me about that too. Thank you.
So yes, we do have a student survey, and it's basically just asking them, they know their alphabets, they know their numbers, any schooling that they had, they know what color it is, can they speak to us, like basic words, mother, father. And the parent survey, we are in the process of creating. We sent out something in the beginning, but it wasn't what we didn't receive the responses we thought we would, so we were in the process of changing that. But then the parents also, because we realized the parents say, yes, yes, school, school, and it wasn't really school that they were really enrolled in there. Mantralingual pen, I have the name. It is, Mantralingua talking pen, and it's from School Specialty, and it comes with a pen and keywords and phrases math, and it's about $130 for both pieces.
And I think we will have in our webpage. I think we took some pictures of those pens, and so you can see that. We will post them soon. We have time for one more question for any other of the schools. Liza.
I don't need a microphone. It's so good to see everyone and celebrate all the fantastic work that you've been doing. So Orlando, you started this off giving some schools who are just starting to think about inquiry, how to go about this. When you talk about doing any kind of work, a school's internal cohesiveness, its ability to learn from its own teaching practice and its learning practice is the only way that a school's going to move forward with any piece of work. You were starting to get at what kind of advice would you give other folks in the room who are just starting their inquiry process? You've been doing this for a little bit longer.
Yeah, well, I need the mic.
So you have to turn.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that you need to look at the student at the needs of the students. You need to, in some way, have a source to identify in what areas the kids are struggling, because otherwise the inquiry process is artificial. It has to be organic. It has to be really tap into, because the teachers the teachers don't want to do something that doesn't connect with their practice. It doesn't help them in some way. This year, the focus of our inquiry is Common Core Language 6, which is the understanding and application of vocabulary, academic vocabulary, and content specific. What Eliza and Christina Shelich came in, they did a workshop on translanguaging. And one of the things that we're using with the content area teachers is that they're using strategies for kids to learn a content-specific vocabulary in their native language first. particularly we have two bilingual programs, bilingual Chinese program, bilingual Spanish program.